Which is better, the Umidigi F2 or the Samsung Galaxy A51? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, coming at you with my comparison between the Umidigi F2 and Samsung Galaxy A51. Now I know that this is a video that many of you have been looking forward to because both of these devices are very new. The Umidigi F2 actually recently made its way over to Amazon about a week ago, and the Samsung Galaxy A51 was launched in December of 2019. Now both phones are GSM unlocked and they're both international devices, so you should expect good compatibility with GSM carriers all around the world. Now in the US, you can use these devices with AT&T, T-Mobile, Metro by T-Mobile, Cricket, and smaller GSM carriers like Mint Mobile. Now they're not going to work with Sprint or Verizon, unfortunately, but I do know for the Galaxy A51, there is eventually supposed to be a US specific version of the phone that does launch with support for all four major US carriers, but this particular device is the international model. Now currently over at Amazon, you can get the Umidigi F2 for $249.99. I know you can also save some money and get it for around $199 if you buy it from AliExpress, but of course you're going to get faster shipping with Amazon. And the price of the Samsung Galaxy A51 actually keeps going down on Amazon, and now it's currently being offered between $290 and $299. So I feel like the permanent price is probably going to be $299, but definitely for both of these phones, take a look at the link in the video description to see the most up-to-date pricing for them. Now the Umidigi F2 features a 6.53-inch display at 1080p with a 395 ppi and a 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio. So this display is LCD, but it is really bright and good looking, so it's a really great display overall. And with the Samsung Galaxy A51, we're getting a 6.5-inch display, which is Super AMOLED. It's 1080p, it features a PPI of 405, and we're getting a 20 by 9 aspect ratio with the phone. So really similar form factors overall with these two devices. You do get a little bit of a larger display with the F2, but you do get kind of a skinnier and taller form factor with the A51 since it does feature that 20 by 9 aspect ratio. But overall, both devices do give you a lot of screen real estate. You can see up top on both phones, you get a hole punch for the front-facing camera. And I'm a big fan of that instead of having a water drop notch or a pop-up camera. I feel like at least until we have in-display technology for front-facing cameras where they can hide behind the display, this is really the best option that we have. So you're going to get very immersive video viewing experiences with both devices and really good screen-to-body ratios overall. Now you can see towards the bottom on both phones, you do have a little bit of a thicker bottom bezel, and overall they both look really nice. Now despite the Umidigi F2 not being AMOLED, this LCD display really is great looking, and for a second here, I actually thought the phone did have AMOLED, just because when compared to the AMOLED display with the Galaxy A51, it looks almost just as good. Now I will say at the end of the day, I think the A51 does have the better display of the two, but it's not like this one's really good and this one's really bad. They both do look really good. Now both phones do feature 32 megapixel front-facing cameras, so nice to see that we are getting a high megapixel count on both devices. They also both feature 128 gigabytes of internal storage with SD card expansion. So you're getting a lot of internal storage, but if that's not enough for you, you do have the option to put in a micro SD card. Now neither of the two phones feature wireless charging, and they both do have fingerprint sensors. However, they're set up a bit differently. So with the Umidigi F2, the fingerprint sensor is actually located in the power button on the right side of the phone. So very quick and easy to use there, and very convenient because you're naturally going to be tapping on that button anyway quite often. And then with the Samsung Galaxy A51, the phone has an in-display fingerprint sensor. So it's really up to your personal preference for which type of fingerprint sensor you prefer. Now for me, I actually like having the side-mounted fingerprint sensor. I feel like my thumb is always naturally in this place anyway, so it makes it a lot more convenient, and it's a very quick fingerprint sensor. But on the other hand, it is kind of fun and interesting to have an in-screen fingerprint sensor. But I'm curious to know your thoughts about that. Which approach do you prefer? Now, in addition to that, both phones do feature face unlock, so if you do want to go that route instead of using the fingerprint sensors, then you're welcome to do that. Or if you want to do a combination of both, that's another option as well. Now, on the back side of the two devices, they actually both feature quad camera setups. So they both feature a 48 megapixel main camera. With the Umidigi F2, we're getting a 13 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and we're getting a 5 megapixel macro camera. And with the Samsung Galaxy A51, in addition to that 48 megapixel main camera, we're getting a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. So at least on paper, you're getting the same abilities with both cameras here, and they actually both have a very similar amount of megapixels for each individual camera. So that's pretty interesting. So you are getting portrait mode with both devices. However, with the Umidigi F2, I have not found the ability to take portrait mode photos with the front-facing camera. So here's what the camera apps look like on both phones. Now you of course have the ability to switch over to the ultra wide angle camera if you want to. And you can see with both devices, you're able to fit significantly more content into the frame. And then you can also switch over to that macro camera on both phones too, to take really close-up photos of different things. Now, the best place to use the macro camera is definitely outdoors and not indoors, that's for sure. Now, with the Umidigi F2, we're getting 6 gigabytes of RAM and the MediaTek Helio P70 processor. And with the Samsung Galaxy A51, we're getting 4 gigabytes of RAM, or 6, depending on which variant you get. This is the 4 gigabyte variant of the phone. And we're getting the Samsung Exynos 9611 processor. So keep in mind, if you do get the 6 gigabyte variant of the Galaxy A51, you are going to be spending even more money than you would with the 4 gigabyte variant of the phone. Now, I did run an Antutu benchmark test with both devices, and I want to show you the results from that test. And you can actually see here, both devices do feature a very similar Antutu benchmark score. So that's very interesting there and nice to see. And with the Umidigi F2, we're getting a total score of 179,968. And with the Samsung Galaxy A51, we're getting a total score of 177,594. So very close scores here. So you should really expect both phones to perform very similarly. Now, both devices do feature very well optimized software, and they also both run Android 10. The biggest difference, though, is that with the Umidigi F2, we have stock Android 10, and with the Samsung Galaxy A51, we have Samsung's One UI 2.0 laid over Android 10. But both phones are very fast and smooth. Of course, they're not nearly as fast as a flagship would be, like the Galaxy S10 or the upcoming Galaxy S20. But for phones in this price range, they definitely get the job done. They're nice and easy to use, and it really depends on your personal preference, whether you'd rather have stock Android or you'd rather have Samsung's user interface. Now, with the Umidigi F2, video recording maxes out at 1080p at 30 frames per second. And with the Samsung Galaxy A51, you can actually take 4K video with both the front and rear cameras with this phone. Now, as far as battery capacity goes, with the Umidigi F2, we're getting a massive battery at 5,150 milliamp hours, and you're also getting 18-watt fast charging compatibility. And with the Samsung Galaxy A51, we're getting a smaller battery, but still a massive battery at 4,000 milliamp hours with 15-watt fast charging. So nice to see that we do get fast charging with both phones, as since they both do feature very large batteries, it would definitely take a long time to charge them if you were using a lower end 5-watt fast charging adapter. And then with the Umidigi F2, we're getting NFC. And with this version of the Galaxy A51, there is no NFC. So there might be other versions of the phone that come out in the future that do have it. I just know that this international Galaxy A51 does not have NFC. So if you want to use Google Pay, for example, then the Umidigi F2 is the only phone of these two that does support that. Now that we've talked about the specifications of these two devices, let's dive deeper into the hardware of the phones. So I already talked about the front panels here on the two devices. Both look really appealing. I think they both look great, and really probably two of the most stylish phones that I've gotten this year as far as form factor goes. Now, taking a look at the left side of the two devices, On both phones, we just have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. And both phones are dual SIM, which is really awesome. Then taking a look at the right side, they both have the volume button and they both have the power button. But with the Umidigi F2, the power button is also the fingerprint sensor. Then on the top of the two phones, there is nothing on the Umidigi F2. And with the Galaxy A51, we do have a noise canceling microphone. And then on the bottom of the two devices, both phones feature a speaker, they both have a microphone, they both have a USB-C port for charging and data transfer, and they both have a 3.5mm headphone jack. And then taking a look at the back side of the two phones, they both feature plastic on the back, and they both have a glossy finish, but they're definitely a bit different looking. Of course, with the camera modules, they're different. We have a squared off camera module with the Galaxy A51, and with the Umidigi F2, we have kind of a more standard stacked camera design here, and then a separate camera off to the side for the macro camera. But they both have all the same camera capabilities, so they really just look different, and that's all. But you can see here, both phones do feature really cool looking colors. They're also both fingerprint magnets, so keep that in mind. You might want to pair these phones up with a case, but maybe get a clear case if you want to actually see the colors on the two devices. But I really like this blue color with the Umidigi F2. This looks really sharp. I like how it has kind of a wavy look to it. And then the Galaxy A51 has a similar wavy look to it as well, but we also get a prism design here on the back of the phone. Now, both devices do come in other colors as well, so definitely take a look at the link in the video description to see all the various colors that are available. Now, when you lay these two phones flat on a table, the Umidigi F2 does rock around a little bit, so that doesn't really bother me necessarily, but that might be something good for you to know. And then with the Galaxy A51, it sits on the table with no problems. There's no rocking or anything. By the way, if anyone's wondering, this little side cutout on the A51 is the app edge. So that's a feature that you get thanks to Samsung software on here. I just know that some people think that it's like an extra notch on the side, which it's not. So just want to point that out and make that clear to you. But let's now do a speed test comparison between these two devices. I cleared out all of the recently used apps. So we're going to start by pulling up the cameras in both phones. So 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like it was about the same on both devices, maybe a little bit quicker with the Umidigi F2. Next, we're going to pull up the web browser. So we're going to pull up Google Chrome. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like the Umidigi F2 is quicker at pulling up Chrome. You can also see in this side-by-side here, despite these two phones both having their brightness at maximum, you can see how much brighter the display is on the Galaxy A51. And that is due to it having, of course, the AMOLED display. So you get better viewing angles, so better colors at a bunch of different angles. Because you can see as I tilt the two phones more and more, the A51 still has the clearer looking picture, but if you view them both head on, they do look pretty similar. So consider that for what it's worth. But next we're gonna pull up yahoo.com. So 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like Yahoo is first to be pulled up on the Umidigi F2. Definitely interesting that it seems like we're getting quicker performance with that phone. Next, we're going to go to Engadget.com. So 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like the A51 was first to pull up Engadget, which is interesting. But it looks like the ad was first to be pulled up on the F2. And it looks like, as far as this video goes, let's see which phone is first to pull that up. Looks like the A51 was first to pull up the video. So scrolling is smooth on both phones. So that's good. Let's go to this article. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like the F2 is first to pull up the article. Pinch to zoom is nice and smooth on both phones, which is good. So both phones are very quick and they're both pretty similar in performance. Let's now test which device of the two is louder. So I have the same YouTube video pulled up on both phones and the volume on both devices are at the maximum. I have a decibel meter here which will pick up the highest decibel reading from these devices. So I'll play the first 10 seconds of each video, starting right now. With the Samsung Galaxy A20 getting close to being a year old now, should you still buy this phone or should you wait for the Samsung Galaxy A21? And it looks like the maximum decibel reading is 108.3. So I'm going to reset that and then do the A51. With the Samsung Galaxy A20 getting close to being a year old now, should you still buy this phone or should you wait for the Samsung Galaxy A21? And I got 112.6 with the A51, so no doubt the A51 is the louder of the two phones, that's for sure. So if you are looking to play music while you're taking a shower, or maybe you're in the kitchen wanting to play music or listening to a YouTube video while you are cooking food, then basically the A51 will be the louder of the two phones. But that being said, the F2 still does have good sounding speakers. So interesting thing there to see. Now I did want to show you what comes in the box with both devices. So here is the box for the Umidigi F2 and here's the box for the Galaxy A51. So a bit different in design here, of course. But let's open up the box first for the Umidigi F2. Lift the lid here. So we get a case included, so just kind of a standard TPU case, pretty thin here, but nice that it is included in the box. Then we get a packet here that features a quick start guide right here, and we get a SIM card removal tool, which is pretty useful. Put that away here. We have the fast charging wall adapter, and we have, if I can get it out of here, and we have the USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. So that's everything included in the box here with the Umidigi F2. And here is the box for the Galaxy A51. So included in here, we have the wall adapter, of course, the fast charging wall adapter. We have some 3.5mm headphones, and we have the USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. And also, if I can get it out of here, it's kind of stuck in the top of the box. We have a SIM card removal tool. We have some literature here related to the device in both English and Spanish. And we have a clear plastic case. So both phones do come with the case, and you're pretty much getting all the same accessories with both devices, except with the A51, you are getting headphones. Now this is for this particular version of the A51, the international version of the phone. So I don't know, if you buy it from a carrier, for example, you might not get all of these same accessories. So just keep that in mind. So which phone is the better device to choose? Well, I think first thing, both phones are good phones. This is certainly one of the best devices that I've used ever from Umidigi. And that's saying a lot because I've used pretty much every phone that they've put out over the last year and a half or so. I've used the Umidigi X, I've used the Umidigi F1, I've used the Umidigi Power, Umidigi A5 Pro, the Umidigi S3 Pro. I've had so many different phones from Umidigi in the past, and this one is way better in all ways. It's a better design, it's definitely the most well-built phone I've ever used from Umidigi, and it has the best camera quality. And the Samsung Galaxy A51 has already been a huge success for Samsung and definitely a really strong contender in its price range. So I really like the A51. In fact, the A51 so far is my favorite phone of the year. Of course, there's a lot of other devices coming out in 2020, so I'm sure this will be dethroned by something else eventually. But I really like the A51. I also really like the F2, and the specifications on these two devices are definitely very comparable. So it's a very close comparison with these two phones. I would say that overall, if you're looking for a more stock Android experience, I would say go for the F2. But if you do like Samsung's user interface, then go for the A51. In addition to that, you should expect to get more software updates and security patches from the A51 compared to the F2. So if that's important to you, go with the Galaxy A51. But if you really like having that side-mounted fingerprint sensor, go with the Umidigi F2. I'm certainly a big fan of that, and personally I do prefer that over the in-screen fingerprint sensor. Mostly because it's a lot more convenient and quicker and easier to use. But I hope you've enjoyed this video comparing the Umidigi F2 to the Samsung Galaxy A51. Definitely leave your thoughts about these two devices in the comments section below. I'm really curious to know what you think about these phones. But this is Kevin here. Check out the links in the video description if you're interested in buying either of these two devices or you just want to learn more about them. And I will see you in the next video.